Hey, everybody. Renee, did you have something you wanted to add?
Perfect. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another live community classroom with Michaels. Excuse me. We have our friend Edie Ackman with us today to make this Lily Crochet Notions case. My name is Renee from Yarn Inspirations, and I'll be helping with any questions you might have during today's class. Please feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and we'll make sure that Edie answers them. While we're getting ready to kick things off, let us know where you're watching from. Over to you, Edie.
Hey, everybody. So happy to be here for this back to school, what do they call it? Back to school ready pouch, but it's actually a Notions pouch. So if you're not going back to school, you can put your, crochet hooks or your pins or whatever you want to in it. It's got a zipper. So we're going to be putting a zipper in, as well as I'll show you how to crochet it. So I will be using, let me switch my cameras here. I will be using Lily Sugar'n Cream. Move my keyboard out of the way here. And I'm using color, what is this called? Ahoy Ombre. How about that? I think the pattern calls for something called Coral Seas Ombre, so you can see the two different color ways here. But really, just about any color you use will look great. I'm also using a size H crochet hook. We're going to be talking about gauge in a little while, but basically you want to use the size hook that's going to give you the gauge that the pattern calls for, maybe. So let's put a pin in that and talk about gauge in a little while. So I'm going to move these things out of the way and start with my yarn. I'm actually going to start with some yarn I already have pulled out here. So to start with, you're going to chain 21. So I'm going to tie a knot, slip knot. I'm going to do a smaller sample here just because I don't need to be able to chain. I don't need to do the whole thing. So chain loosely. I don't think it says loosely, but I have learned that this particular one, you really do need to chain loosely. So I'm just going to do a few smaller stitches or smaller chain here. Let's see. When you count your chain, do not count the stitch on the hook and don't count your knot. So if you're counting backwards, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me do 9, 10, 11. So mine's about half the size of the regular one. Then one single crochet in the second chain from the hook. Now, here's the first chain from the hook because I don't count the stitch on my hook. Second chain from the hook. So at this point, I have a choice of where I'm going to put my hook when I do that. So I actually could either put it right here under 2 loops. So when I put my hook in, I've got 2 loops on top and just 1 on the bottom. Or what I really like to do, especially in this instance, is work into the back bump. So if I'm looking at the front of the chain here, if I flip it over, you see that little bump right there? I like to work under that one bump right there. So I'm going to single crochet in that bump and then in each bump across. So basically I'm flipping it over and I'm identifying those little bumps, bars, whatever you want to call them. And I'm going to single crochet all the way across to the last chain. And it's a good thing I worked loosely because this part can be a little bit tricky to do. And this is a fairly tight gauge too with this yarn and this hook. When I get to the last chain, I'm going to put 3 single crochets in the last chain. So here I am coming up. There's the next to the last one. Right, here I am. There's my last back bump. I'm going to put 3 stitches in that one. 1, 2, 3. Let me show you what's happened. You see that it's starting to bend around the end of the chain because I'm increasing here. So now instead of turning like I would normally do, I'm going to just pivot or rotate that chain like this. So now the bottom of the chain is on top. So they're the stitches I just made, and now I'm working on the opposite side of the chain. And because I worked into the back bump, look, I have a lot of chains here because I used that back bump. Now I have all these free loops for chains. I'll show you in a minute what it looks like if you don't use the back bump. So we're going to do it this way first. Now I'm working in the remaining loops of that foundation chain. I'm going to single crochet in each stitch across. You can see it's already changing color on me. That's the fun part. And again, these stitches are a little bit tight, so you needed to chain loosely. There we go. And when I get to the last stitch, I can't talk, I'm going to put 2 single crochets in that last chain. 1, 2. So now I have worked around the chain, and I'm going to do another round, and I'm going to increase a little bit. Now it tells me to join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. So I'm going to join with a slip stitch right here. And I find that sometimes when I'm working like this, it can be really challenging to keep track of which is the slip stitch and which is the chain itself. So I'm going to reach over here, grab myself a marker, because those of you who followed me before know I love to use markers. I'm going to put that marker in the slip stitch. That way I know that I'm never going to work into that slip stitch. Okay, round 2, chain 1, 2 single crochets in that first stitch. So right there in that same stitch, 1, 2. Then 1 single crochet in each of the next 18. So obviously I don't have 18, I have fewer, but I'm going to work across here. And what I'm doing as I work across is this is all straight, right? This is the straight edge of the bag. But when I get toward the end, I will be increasing. So now I'm down here toward the end, I'm going to put 2 single crochets in each of the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. Those are all in the same spot. And you can see it's starting to round around the end. I'm going to do the same thing, work straight across, and I'm going to increase when I get back to the other side. Oh gosh, can you hear the lawnmower right outside my window? Of course, this always happens on Thursdays when I'm teaching for Michael, so I hope it's not too loud for you.
We actually can't hear it at all. You're perfect.
Oh, great. Okay. Really loud where I am. Okay. So here I am. I come back around and I'm putting 2 single crochets in each of the last 2 single crochets. So there's my other increase. And I need to join with a slip stitch. I want to make sure that I'm not working into this stitch because that is that slip stitch that I marked. So I'm going to come around here and there's my first single crochet. So I'm joining with the slip stitch. All right, and I'm going to put a marker back in here. So you can continue with the instructions the way it says, because it's going to have you, for the 3rd round, it's going to have you put 2 single crochets in the next 2, work across, increase around here, work across and increase. So then you will have increased out. Let me show you what that looks like in real time. So here I was working around and I increased on the ends up until it says to. And then the fourth round, you just start working in rounds because you see that little curve right there. You've increased out to the full distance. So let me go ahead and do another chain one. And I'm just going to start working even so you can see what it looks like on this little sample. So one thing that I did when I was making my sample here that is different from what the pattern says, and that is the pattern tells me to join each round with a slip stitch, then chain one to begin the next round. And what that does is it does keep the beginning of the round really stacked on top of each other so that the beginning of the round stays right there. But I actually like to work in unjoined rounds. I don't think in this particular project that I need to join the rounds. I can just work round and round and round and not worry about doing that join with a slip stitch and then chain one. So what I actually did on my project is I ignored what the pattern said right there. Did you know you could do that? That you can ignore the pattern? Oh my gosh. So what I do when I get to the end of the round, rather than joining with a slip stitch, is I just put a marker in the first stitch of the round so that I know where I am. So right now I'm going to ignore that slip stitch that I had marked. Let's skip right over it and go on to the next stitch in the round, put a marker in it. And now I know as I work around that that is just going to be the first stitch in my round. So I work round and round and round and round, and you start creating this pouch. So round and round, you can see these are all right side stitches. So all of these are right side of my single crochet. The wrong side looks like that. So as I work in rounds, it gets straight up the sides like this because I'm not increasing anymore. So it starts creating this pouch. So you work until the pattern says, what does it say? About 5 inches from the beginning. So you're measuring from way down here up to about here. And then work that edging round. So let me show you the edging round, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you another way to do that beginning chain if you want, and also answer questions, and then we'll talk about the zipper. First of all, let me stop and see if there are any questions.
So far, it's very quiet. Sabrina said this is very cool, and I agree.
Yeah, I think it's real. Notice I made this project all the way through. I'm going to have this time. Okay, so let's pretend that I have made the pouch. Can you see it's starting to turn kind of pouch-like because it's starting to come up the sides here? So I'm going to pretend that I have crocheted the whole pouch and I'm ready to do the edging. Now, when I work in unjoined rounds, let me get back over here and show you what happens if you decide not to do that join with the slip stitch. When I work in unjoined rounds, you can't really see where the end of the round is other than with that marker. So this is why I did a short one so I can get through here. So I just get back around here to the first stitch. And at that point, if this is the end of my, when I'm ready to start the edging, I might go ahead and put a slip stitch there to sort of smooth out that end of the round because you're working in a spiral actually. All right, so what happens when we're ready to do the edging round? This one is done with reverse single crochet or crab stitch. Now, I used to think reverse single crochet meant that I held the hook in my left hand and I crocheted in that direction, which is nothing but left-handed crochet. That's not what reverse single crochet is. Here's the trick with reverse single crochet. As a right-hander, I crochet from right to left, right? That's what I've been doing, crocheting from right to left. And my hook has been pointing to the left. Now for reverse single crochet, as a right-hander, don't worry, I'm going to try to show you left-handed too. If anybody's left-handed, actually speak up if you're in the chat. Please speak up if you're left-handed, because if you're not left-handed, I don't want to try to show it to you if I don't have to, because it's harder for me. But all right, so right-handed first. I'm going to work from left to right, but my hook is going to stay pointed to the left. Okay, so I'm working in this direction now, but my hook stays that way. Well, how does that happen? Chain one, let's chain one. Now I need to put my hook into this stitch. I'm ignoring the chain one, but I really need to hang on to this loop that's on the hook. It's going to want to come off. So I'm going to really control it. I am the boss of that orange loop right there. Okay, so I'm going to come back this direction. The first one's always the hardest, and go under those two loops. Can you see I went under the two loops of the V? I'm going to grab that yarn and pull it up. So you see I still have my orange loop and now I have my white loop. Then I'm going to do a yarn over and pull through two. Don't worry, the first ones always look ugly. So I'm going to do it again. Now I'm going to hang on to this white loop. I'm going to go back in this direction, but notice what direction my hook is pointing. My hook is always pointing to the left. I'm not turning it around this way. I'm pointing it to the left and hanging on to that loop, going in under two, yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through both. I'm going to do that all the way across. It's not until about the third stitch that I think reverse single crochet starts looking nice. And you get this lovely rolled edging. You see it's kind of bumpy, but it's kind of scalloped. Show it to you on this one. I think it's really pretty. It makes a really nice edge. It's just a little tricky to get. It took me a long time to get it. And I think Renee is probably going to share. I have a YouTube video about how to do it where I go into a good bit of detail about it. So for left and right-handed. Okay, Renee, do I need to show it left-handed? Speak up.
We haven't heard from anyone, so if we want to give maybe another 10 seconds, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Right. And if you need to see it left-handed, I do have a left-handed video on YouTube. So
absolutely, we dropped both in the chat. So maybe I think we can just proceed without.
Okay.
And folks, if you do want to see left-handed, it is there in the chat for you.
Yeah, great. Okay, so now we've very quickly done our pouch and gotten to the end. We've woven in our ends. Boom. It's like one of those cooking videos where it's all done, right? So here's my pouch. I wove in the end at the beginning and wove in the end at the end, right? So all my ends are gone. So now I need to put in my zipper. Before I put in my zipper, I want to talk a minute about the size. I promised I was going to talk about gauge. So if you've heard me talk before, you hear me talk about gauge a lot. So I made this pouch, and I will admit I didn't do a gauge swatch first. I thought I was somewhere close to being where I needed to be with the gauge, and I was in a hurry, and I thought, oh, maybe it's not going to matter that much. Okay, so this says it's going to be approximately 8 inches wide and 5 inches high. So I'm going to take my ruler and see what I ended up getting. I got about 8.5 inches wide. So approximately, yeah, not too bad. And about 5 inches high. You see that? Well, here's the thing. When I compared it to the sample, can you see my sample's much smaller? So I thought, I wonder what my gauge is. Well, I'm going to take this little thing here. I know this is 4 inches. I don't usually use a ruler like this. I usually use an actual ruler, but I just want to do this because it's easier to see on camera. So let's count how many single crochets. I'm going to count right along the top here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, I have 14 single crochets in 4 inches. I was supposed to have 13. That means that this is actually not as tight as it should be, right? But I'm actually okay with that because I had a wrist injury earlier this year, and this is about as tight as I could crochet anyway. If I had a smaller hook, I wouldn't be able to do that. But it says wait, did I say that right? I had 14. I'm supposed to have 13. These are smaller than the pattern calls for. I think I said that backwards. Okay. So I have 14 instead of 13, but I ended up with more than 8 inches. And I thought, well, let's see what happens here. Here's the sample they sent me out of curiosity. Let me see if I can find one you can see better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this sample actually has 16 single crochets equals 4 inches instead of 13 single crochets equals 4 inches. So the sample doesn't match the pattern, which is okay because it's nice and tight and the zipper fits really well. You see how the zipper fits from end to end here? But what's going to happen with my zipper? And this is why I'm talking about zippers. Oops. Okay, where did I put my zipper? It's somewhere on my desktop. I had it. We'll just keep talking about zippers for a minute while I try to find what happened to it.
Perfect.
Yeah, any questions? I think I'm going to have to lift this up because I think it's probably hiding under. Oh my gosh.
The magic of television, y'all.
Yeah, it's real live television. Because I had the zipper and then it disappeared. Renee even saw the zipper.
Oh, so, goodness. I don't know where you.
All right. So ask me questions about the crochet while I look for the darn zipper.
Perfect. Well, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to weigh in. Sabrina said this might be my new favorite stitch, which I love that. I love when we have takeaways in these classes that you can, bring into all your other crafts. What I will say is that measuring tool that Edie was using, sometimes we come across these and we sort of wonder if they're worth it. They absolutely are. I have a knit check that I keep finding all these like funny little uses for, like if you maybe took a bunch of safety eyes out of a package and you don't remember which size is what, you can actually figure out what gauge that safety eye is using a knit check. I think they make great stocking stuffers too. And you can put them in your little notions bag once you find the zipper, as Edie just did.
Yes, thank you very much. It had fallen onto the floor into the trash can. So there we go. I knew I had it. It just, with all that experimentation we were doing before class, Renee, it must have fallen off. Okay.
We were getting too wild.
we were flipping things here and there. So here I have my zipper and I'm going to be putting it into my space here, right? So you will see immediately that I am not a seamstress. So if you know how to do this already, just do it however you would normally do it, but I'll show you how I would do it, but then, it'll be good enough, right? So definitely one thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm not putting it in this way, right? So I want to make sure that I'm turning, I guess you'd call it the right side of the zipper to the wrong side of the fabric. I'm just going to pin this in here. decide where I want it to be. And I probably want it to be pretty centered. And see if I have it straight here. So that's going to show me that when it's sewn in, it's going to be a little bit down from the edge, because I want that edging to be, you know, to show and be. So let me scoot it up just a little bit. The other thing, now this, I'm going to channel my mother here, and that is, she said, always baste things in. Of course, I'm using my hand. I'm sewing by hand, not sewing with my my sewing machine here. So I'm going to take my thread. And again, I had that out too. And I'm going to use a black thread just for now, so you can see it. So you can see what I am, what I'm going to be doing here. And I don't want to sew in the other, or baste in the other part yet. I'm just doing this one side. So I'm going to grab my needle, my sewing needle, and let's see if I can do this on camera. I don't know if I can see well enough. This is a fairly large needle that I'm using. Okay. Why not? And I'm just going to baste it in like this to see if I have the placement where I want it. I should probably use a thimble. I can see all of you people who are sewers are going to go, oh, she's not using a thimble. She didn't know what she's doing. If anybody has suggestions of how to do this better, I welcome them. It's kind of good enough. It's good enough for me, but
we got a question from Susie. Let me know if this is a focus activity and I can wait.
no, it's not. I just
okay.
fill in time while I do this.
Awesome. Susie said, are you able to size up your own zipper, or do you have to purchase the exact size as stated in the pattern?
Do not have to purchase the exact size. So obviously you can make this any size you want. What I will probably end up doing with this one, because I don't want these ends to, the end of the zippers to be open. You see how I'm sort of putting it in the middle, but I'm going to have a little extra space here. I'm probably on this one going to end up sewing the top of the pouch together up to the zipper. But if you want to make a larger pouch, you can certainly use a different size zipper. So let's see how that basting has gone. Put it in here. And I can say, I think that's not quite straight. You see it goes down here a little bit. So I'm going to have to remember to sew up a little closer here. But I'll say, well, okay, good enough. I'm going to take another basting thread and do the other side. So just so I can see what it looks like. And seriously, y'all speak up if you have sewing tips, because I shouldn't be teaching a sewing. I'm obviously not teaching a sewing class, right? So how do we get the other side basted in? Well, in this one, I'm going to have to unzip it, because it's going to need to tuck in this way, right? Because I want it to tuck in like this. So here, I'm going to baste it in, pin it. Maybe it's a little easier to get straight this way because I'm looking at the inside. And notice I'm using a different basting thread in case I want to pull one out. All right, so here, I'll just start on this side and do my running stitch. along here. Because when I sew it in, I want to sew it in pretty securely. I want to take obviously much smaller stitches than what I'm doing here, because I want it to, it's going to get some use, right? The zipper is going to get a lot of use.
Susie had a follow up. She said, I guess what I meant was, could you cut zippers, which she used in kind of air quotes, whatever cutting a zipper would look like. Can you cut zippers to size up your purse?
Yes, so you can cut zippers. What you do when you cut a zip, if your zipper's too long, right, you can take a tack across the zipper, and I'll show you where I mean about that. Like, get this last bit in here. All right, so let's say I didn't want my zipper to be this long. I wanted it to be this long. I can take thread and sew across here, probably with a sewing machine. I don't know. But you can shorten a zipper by just putting a stop on it here. And then you would be able to cut what's below it. But I would strongly suggest that you look online, follow some instructions from someone besides me about that, hopefully. Now, I think that's okay. I'm all right with that. It may not be quite as straight or tidy as it should be, but we're going to go with it. You see, I have these extra ends here. That's what I'm talking about. I'm just going to end up sewing the ends of my pouch together here, because I don't want anything to fall out the corners. If I have stitch markers or something in there, I don't want them to sneak out the corner, right? So I'm going to end up sewing that. So go back here, and now I will take my actual white thread, get rid of that, and do the sewing part itself, the actual sewing. I'm probably going to use a different needle. This was a really big needle that I used to kind of baste with. So I'm probably going to take a much smaller needle, which I may not be able to thread here on camera. We'll see. And my white yarn, my white yarn, I mean thread, it's thread. This is like a big test for me. All right, there we go. So now I'm just going to be sure to sew in according to, you know, getting those ends in there the way I want them to be. So I guess that's okay. I can start here. And for now, let's see, how would I do this? It's a little bit tricky. I'm going to go all the way through for the first one, although I probably don't need to do that for the others. I can probably just go, you know, I don't have to go all the way through the fabric, because I can grab enough of the inside of the yarn part. So, and I'm going to take little stitches and maybe even back stitches. So can you see on the white what I'm doing here? The thread is coming out here. I can change to different color if I need to. And if I do a back stitch, that's going to be pretty secure. So you see the thread is coming out here. I went backwards, then forwards. And then backwards and forwards. And it really helps to have basted it in. So having said all that, I have not looked to see on the sample that I have, how they sewed it in. Let's take a look. I didn't even think to do that. Okay, so they did really big running stitches. Can you see those really big running stitches? And it looks like they used either 2 strands or a very thick thread, which I don't happen to have. On the other hand, this is not going to be used daily. It's a sample. So I think for mine, I still like the idea of doing those back stitches or a couple of series of running stitches, because there's going to be a lot of push and pull on that. And I especially would want to do it like really secure it at both ends where there's going to be a lot of pulling on it. Questions about any of this?
Yes, we're having quite a bit of buzz about the lining. Dawn Tennyson said, I think I'm going to line mine with fabric. Deep Tea asked, what type of needles are you using?
Oh, that's a good question, because I don't know. They're needles that were sitting in my my pin cushion. So I'm afraid that I do not have like this first one I used is a pretty big one. It's maybe an embroidery needle. It's pretty thick and pretty sturdy, and it was just easy for me to do that running stitch, but it's really too big for this. And this one actually is pretty big too, but I don't know what size it is or anything like that. It's just an all-purpose sewing needle.
You find what you have, even if it just belongs to the pin cushion.
It belongs to the pin cushion. It's the one that's handy. I easily could have grabbed another one. I do like ones that are long enough. I have some pins, some, I don't think I have any here that are, see how that one's a little bit shorter? And I like ones that give me enough to grab onto. Sometimes those hand sewing needles, some are really, really short, and I like to be able to push because I'm not using a thimble. So I'm pushing by pinching my fingers rather than pushing with my middle finger.
Yeah, really smart.
Another thing I might do on this, and I probably won't end up sewing this whole thing, is because I'm sewing pretty close to the zipper itself, the mechanism, I'm going to have that extra here. And if you're like I am and you're a little bit clumsy with things, sometimes that piece of zipper and that piece of fabric ends up getting caught in your zipper. And so I might even tack that down like with a little whip stitch along here just to keep it out of the way. We were having that conversation before we started our session about getting zippers caught and how hard it is to replace a zipper and so on. So just depending on whether you think that piece of fabric will get caught in there, you might want to do it. So yes, lining, if you're up to lining it, that would be good. This is fairly thick. I mean, I don't think your crochet hook's going to fall out of it, but you certainly could line it. That would make it even easier. I want to go back to the beginning and talk about that initial chain. Have I shown you enough about the sewing? Are we okay with the sewing? Hopefully. Any questions? Okay. All right, move these out of the way. I want to go back and start that piece again using a different kind of chain. So back here, starting with my chain again. So before, when I was talking about working into the back bump of the chain, I said you could work over in the back bump. And that's why when I worked in the back bump and then did the other side, see, when I work in the back bump, I end up with those two loops of a chain, looks like the top of a stitch here. But if I don't work in the back bump, if I just work in the regular way, so above that bottom loop, Do that. If I work just above that bottom loop, so under 2 loops, there I have 2 loops. It's going to look different when I work on the opposite side of the chain. And that's what I wanted to make sure you got to see. So here I am in the last stitch. I'm going to put 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Now, when I'm looking at the opposite side of my chain, you see how I just have 1 loop there? Before, when I was, because I had worked in the back bump, I had 2 loops, but now I just have 1 loop to work into. So I would just work in the opposite side or the remaining loop here. Either way is fine. I'll show you it looks maybe a little bit different when you do it this way. Let me get this all the way to the end and then we'll compare. Put 2 more in here. So here's what that looks like. Just you can look really carefully, see what it looks like when I use just 1 loop on the other side. And then the first one, when I worked in the back bump, it looks like this. So I'll hold these, of course, different colors are showing up. I think it's a little more invisible working into the back bump, but maybe not. And you maybe get a little more of a gap when you work in under 2 loops and then under 1 loop. So maybe a little bit more of a gap there, whereas you don't have a gap here. But it really doesn't matter as long as you're consistent across the whole thing. All right. So questions, what do I need to show again?
Let me just go through and see if there was any that we missed. Oh, this is a great tip, by the way. Susan Bayer said, I like to wax my sewing thread so it glides better and doesn't knot up. Genius.
Nice. Good idea. Yeah, just keep, I remember my mother used to have a piece of beeswax that she kept in her sewing basket. I had forgotten about that.
Mabel said, how to do the zipper. Do we think it's possible to?
Do like how to do it? How? What specifically do I need to show again, I guess?
Mabel, if you could weigh in a little bit more specifically, we'll see if we can.
And one thing about the sewing, you notice I didn't do a really long piece of thread because you don't want to have a really long piece of thread that's going to get tangled. It's better to stop and start with, you know, several different pieces of thread. So that's a good tip too, is not to, you don't want to be pulling your, you know, pulling and pulling and pulling the thread through, because that's just a lot of trouble. So it's more exercise than we need to be getting. Oh, I see Deepthi. Hi, Deepthi. When you stitch the zipper onto the pouch, do you stitch all the way through the crochet stitches? I did not stitch. So the first one I did, I went all the way through. But on these, I am just, there's plenty of thickness here. I am just kind of going in and out, and my finger is on the back side and it's not touching. So I'm just going like this. Okay, and it's not showing on the other side at all. So I'm actually holding my finger behind it and I'm not pricking my finger. So All right.
Do we have any tips for how to hide it, like to hide the zipper really well?
So once it's sewn in, and remember this, do you see how much closer I've been sewing to the, like when I basted it here, but I'm sewing pretty close up next to the actual zipper. So when I sew this side, it's going to be closer in like that as well. And then these ends, I can do a couple of different ways. I can either tuck them in, like, oh, I sewed that one down. I sew them in like that, so tuck them down like this, or just sew them straight across, but take the thread or piece of yarn, I guess, and sew the end of the pouch closed, because it's going to depend on how big your pouch is, like, and how big your zipper is. So, whoops. So like down here at this end, if I didn't want that showing like that, I can just use my needle, my sewing needle, tie a knot in it, and just sew this end closed. So the zipper is going to be stuck down in there. The fabric zipper is going to be stuck down in there, and I'm just going to sew this closed like this. I would probably use two strands of thread together. And in this case, I am going all the way through both sides. So there I've got, so my opening is not going to be quite as far. It's going to be as big as the zipper, but it's not going to be any bigger. So there my end is closed. I do the same thing on this side. So then when it just goes to there. And then the same thing up on this side. I don't want to do that yet because I want to really have enough space to come in here and sew in the zipper really well. Okay. Other questions?
Oh, this is interesting. Hetty said one more comment about the zipper. Sorry. Never apologize. This is a great tip.
Yep.
Better to purchase one after you're done to make sure the length is about right. That's a great idea.
Yeah, that is great. And sometimes, depending on where you live, you're going to be ordering the zipper. Whoops, I'm trying to switch cameras here. Sometimes, like, I don't actually have sewing places near me. So I might be ordering online. I did get my zipper from Michael's, but you can get, if you have access to sewing places, you can get many more different lengths than you can sometimes at your local stores. So that's something to think about too. But this is a pretty good width, and it doesn't, I mean, 1 inch longer would have been okay, but 2 inches longer would have been too much. So zippers do come in like what, 7 and 10, 12. I don't remember exactly what they are, but there are sort of standard lengths that zippers come in. You also probably want to make sure when you're getting a zipper, there's something called a separating zipper. If you think about your jackets, your winter jackets, where it separates all the way out, you probably don't want that for this pouch. You want just a regular zipper that stays closed at the bottom, rather than having to put that little thing in there. So I don't know. You can tell I don't know zipper terminology very well. The little thing, that's like my bathrobe has one of those little things that slides in and you can zip it up.
I think it has a really like non-intuitive, is it like the teeth? Is that?
Well, the teeth are the things that fit together, right? Like that. But then there's that slidey that goes down inside the other slidey thing. And I think this is called a slider, right? Maybe. but I don't know what you call it when you have the separating thing. So maybe somebody who's watching this has all those technical terms that they can weigh in and tell us what it is.
For any of the zipper experts out there, please let us know what the slidey thing is called.
Right. I see it's the pouch 5 inches high or shorter than that. So mine is about 5 inches. I'll switch cameras again and show it to you. So here I'm at, this is the bottom of the pouch, and mine's about 5 inches. And it's about 8.5 across. This other one, which is also really cute, but slightly smaller, this one is about 4 1/4 inches by about 7 3/4 inches. Okay. All right, can I show the reverse stitch, the reverse single crochet? Certainly. Let me find my pieces here. So for reverse single crochet, for a right-hander, I'm keeping my hook pointed to the left like it usually is, but I'm working toward the right, which is opposite or reverse the way I usually do. Okay, so I'm going to hang on to this loop. You need to be the boss of this loop because it is going to want to jump all over the place. So I am hanging on to it with my middle finger here or my index finger, whatever you want. Come back here to the right, go in, yarn over, pull up a loop. Notice I'm still hanging on to this because it's going to want to jump around. Pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through 2. I'll do that one more time. Hang on to that loop, come back here, go in, yarn over, pull up a loop. Make sure that loop you pull up is to the left of the loop that was on your hook. Don't let it jump over. Then yarn over and pull through. Once you get it going, it makes a lot of sense, but it's a little counterintuitive to work in that direction and have it be lumpy like this because the first few stitches just look like lumps. They don't look like a nice corded edge. So you kind of have to get over your expectations of what it's going to look like or what it's going to feel like. And it is a little bit slower going than, your regular stitch. But usually you're only doing it once, like on the final round. So no big deal. And it's well worth knowing because there's so many beautiful ways you can use it. One of my favorite finishing stitches. Okay, other questions? How are we doing on time, Renee? Pretty close.
Yeah, it is 1:54. Doing good. I think you were just very descriptive. I think we're all going to be able to make a perfect notions case after this.
And it only takes 1 ball of yarn. And I can just see doing this for like Christmas presents because it's not necessarily just for crochet or just for back to school pencil bags, right? It can be like cosmetics bag and all kinds of things that you could, depending on the colors you choose. It could be, how about a dice bag? Like if you have any Dungeons and Dragons people, you could make a bag for that. Like everybody in your family could use one of these.
Yeah, I hoard those bags, certainly. I collect them from other things, but I would certainly go and make them. And
right.
You don't have to do ombre, you could do solids too.
How many of these do you have, right? All kinds of little cables and cords and batteries and things. So yeah, there are a lot of uses for a bag like this.
Yeah, and then when you have too many of those, then we're going to have to learn to make a tote bag to hold your little notions bag.
Right, to hold the notions, right? So yeah, and the colors that are available in this yarn are incredible, right? And as you say, you don't have to do ombres. You could do stripes. You could do, what you could do? You could make matching washcloths, right? So this is like your little cosmetics bag with the special soap or whatever. and your travel toothbrush or something, and then you can have a matching washcloth and the same yarn.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay. Let's see. I'm looking at more questions here. Well, maybe I did get all the questions. Sorry.
Oh, you can use leftover yarn to make pouches. Deep tea, correct. Yes.
Yep. And it took me really just about one ball. I'll show you what I ended up with. So this yarn that I've been using for class today, so for these little samples, this is how much I had left of the one ball after making the bag. So it uses most of one ball, but not all of one ball. So if that helps.
Oh, I love that Hetty mentioned there's a great pattern of a wash mitt. Yes. Or like a little soap sack. You could make a whole little set.
Right. Or, like, okay, so you have the ombre, but then you get like the orange solid and the teal solid and the green solid and the white solid. So yes, the pattern for this, oh, you're talking about the pattern for the wash mitt. I bet somebody will put that in the link.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. You could pull out all the individual colors from the ombre. I love that.
Right. Well, if there are no more questions, I will encourage everybody to make their own pouch and then share it with us on Make It With Michaels, hashtag Make It With Michaels, and hashtag Yarnspo. Did I get that right?
You got it. Yeah.
Okay.
We would love to see if you make it in solid, if you make it in ombre. So please tag us. So I guess that brings us to the end. Thank you so much for joining us for this live community classroom with Michaels. Don't forget to share your work with hashtag Make It With Michaels and hashtag Yarnspo. Edie, where can people find you?
You can find me. I am Edie Eckman everywhere. edieeckman.com. I'm on Instagram at Edie Eckman. I'm on Facebook at Edie Eckman. So you can just use my name and Google me and you can find me.
Edie Eckman everywhere.
Edie
She makes
Eckman
it very easy for us.
Right.
And just a reminder that you can find more classes on michaels.com and the recording for today's class at michaels.com/classes. All right. Thanks, everyone. Happy crocheting, happy sewing.
Happy back to school, right?